The RNA found itself in a very unusual position in the spring as we were going into lockdown, and ultimately had to make a very difficult decision that we were going to cancel this year's Open. The first time we've cancelled an Open Championship since the Second World War, and that led us to explore all the options in terms of filling the void.
They had this great idea of taking classic Opens from St Andrews from the past 50 years, amalgamating them somehow into this reimagined final day. It's an amazing idea. Looking at archive, how we can amalgamate the 4-3 shots to 16-9, then adding scoring graphics, removing players, all sorts to kind of interweave into one coherent final day broadcast.
NTT DATA and HSBC were incredibly enthusiastic, wanted to get involved from the start. We worked with NTT DATA on a data model which ultimately predicts the winner, and HSBC have been incredibly supportive in terms of the marketing and positioning of the virtual championship, the Open for the Ages.
We worked with IMG Productions on a regular basis, Zoom calls, phone calls, looking at graphics, regular viewings of the programme. Incredibly challenging during lockdown with a 3-hour show, having to move files and trying to make the programme absolutely as good as it could be.
I think one of the most exciting things about this is that you're seeing all of the greatest players to have ever played St Andrews all playing it at the same time. And although of course that didn't really happen, we hope that this show makes it feel like they did. And you can sit down and you can watch some of the most famous shots of all time and some of the greatest players to have played the game actually competing against one another.
There's obviously limitations that comes with using older footage, and so I think it's exciting to look at this story that's been told and reimagine it in a way that's going to work for us and for a new audience as well.
From an RNA perspective, Open Week is one of the most important weeks of the year, and I think for sports fans it's one of the most important weeks of the sporting calendar, so we wanted to make sure we did something really iconic to mark Open Week this year.
Back at 5, Jack for a share of the lead. Slow putt, got the pace, he's got the line.
It was something I didn't think that was possible. I now know it is possible, and it was great. The title says it all, Golf for the Ages.
Brilliant, quite brilliant, and it's come at just the right time. Fabulous shot from the Spaniard.
We wanted this to be more than just a celebratory broadcast product. We really wanted it to be something that could run throughout Open Week and have its own identity. And working with our whole host of partners, but 12th Man in particular, we felt that by having its own brand, its own identity, and a look that was maybe a little bit more sort of vintage, it really started to tell the story of what we were doing.
The way that we're bringing the 4x3 footage to life is by adding layers of graphics, so things like top tracer or hole information, and that's going to help bring it in line with the more modern 16:9 footage and HD footage, which of course was shot at St Andrews in 2015 and in more recent years. And that makes it a more kind of coherent thing to watch and actually adds a layer of interest that was never there in the first place.
We want to bring in Sky's best commentators, Nick Doherty, Ewan Murray and Butch Harmon. Nick and Ewan both have to be in separate voiceover booths here at IMG, and then Butch is 8 hours behind in Las Vegas.
These guys are absolute professionals and brilliant at what they do, but they normally commentate on live golf. Something like this hasn't really been attempted before. Working out how exactly we make that all work, with Butch, Ewan and Nick being able to see one another and being able to cue in Iona, who's doing her links up at St Andrews, actually on the course, even though there's no golf happening. So kind of trying to pull that all together is one of the main challenges.
Tiger Woods hitting a low control.
It was a real honour, to be honest, a privilege to be asked to be involved and alongside some of the best commentators in the game, and good for my golf education, I think, to see more about these greats and how they played around the old course in St Andrews.
So on Sunday the 19th of July, the day that would have been the final day of the 149th Open, we set up 3 content hubs in St Andrews, in London and in Cluj in Romania, and we had 3 different teams working on various elements to be able to deliver a second screen experience for the fans.
Cheers go up from the grandstands for 2 gladiators of the game.
It's really important to us that we had a winner for Open for the Ages. If we were going to have a week-long championship, a virtual championship that culminates in a really exciting final round, we wanted a winner. So we employed a data model. We wanted to ensure that there was real rigour around how we selected a winner, but at the same time we wanted the fans to really feel some ownership of the outcome. So we created a data model both based on career statistics but also on a vote from fans, both through the One Club and our social media channels, and that's ultimately what gave us the final result.
Now the sands of Nottingham are back in.
There is nothing like the Open at St Andrews, so I really enjoyed it. For me it was a labour of love.
A wonderful golfing battle out there today, won by quite simply a great champion.